I think we've got quite a few spicy matchups coming up.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, the roster changes. Let's talk about eRa just for a second. And Team Cryptic, we did mention it. Cryptic are 3rd seed in Europe. You'd have thought eRa would be, top 3 with the caliber of players that they have and have had for quite a while. But I think the roster change was it with Precision. He was in eRa, now he's in Cryptic. I think that's changed the pro point standing quite a bit. But of course, eRa, they're 4th, so they're not too far behind in terms of that seeding. But interesting nonetheless, right?
It's an interesting switch, mainly because of the pro point swap between Incisive and Precision.
Yeah.
What that has meant for the bracket is that eRa have ended up matching into Fable side of the bracket rather than Supremacy side, and I think that's a team they would have liked to have dodged up until at least the final.
Yeah.
That's as you can see eRa on the screen right now. I think that's it's quite an important thing to point out there. It's definitely changed up how the bracket has laid out.
Yeah, 100%. Of course. Reaction right at the end there, most winningest EU player. He wasn't in the team, was it like a week ago?
Yes,
then a few roster swaps, you mentioned it. Incisive, he came in, replaced Jack. Jack was out, Precision was still in at that point. Then Precision has just come out, Reaction has replaced him. Oh, it's been up and down for this roster, but nonetheless, they have got a solid set of players. Rather, Incisive actually is a player we both recognize, right? We were talking about him just before we went live. He's been playing, GBs for a long, long time. Smart player, great player. Similar to how Crimsons and Marsh have come up, actually, speaking of that, but he's not really had that much LAN experience. I think sitting alongside, Ash, of course, formerly of Epsilon, Reaction, I think that, will give him a great boost in experience, but how will he perform today against the likes of, Supremacy and, the Titans of Fable? That's what I'm asking.
I think that's a great question to ask. You're right, he's very much in the same lines as Crimson and Marsh. Very, very good players, but I think for this team, it's how they handle themselves emotionally rather than in the game. We all know they're very good players. If they can hold it together, they've got a very, very good chance of winning this event this weekend.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it on the head, right? Emotions, let's talk about that for a second. Jack Reaction, very passionate player. Many assume that the reason why he actually, was dropped. I wouldn't say dropped, actually. It was kind of like a mixture of leaving and dropping, I think, when he did about replaced, then perhaps is the better word to use. I think, that was not based on raw skill. I think we can be, safe in assuming, or smart, nothing to do with gameplay. I think it was more, team cohesion and whatnot. And when you have, the inexperience or relative inexperience of Marsh and Crimsons, as good as they are raw skill-wise, when you have, Ash alongside, perhaps an emotional player himself, and Reaction, of course, I think that, that could spark some trouble. But it could also, spark some momentum, some energy from that side, which could, perhaps take it to Supremacy and Fable in a good way.
Yeah, I think you're right. It depends how they use that emotion. If it's channeled correctly, they've got a fantastic shot. On the screen, of course, the other team on stream first today, Void Gaming. Of course, we've got Empathy, Jay Merkt, Elusive, Quinlan, and the man himself, Darko, second from the left there. Another strong team. Not quite in the caliber as our top 4 teams, I wouldn't say, but they've got a very good shot at a lot of wins this weekend. How do you think they're going to match up here against eRa?
I mean, we touched upon it. I think, I believe strongly, actually, that this should be a 2-0. I'll be honest. I think eRa should take this quite comfortably. This team, fairly new roster. I know a lot of these players haven't had that much experience actually competing on Gears 4 compared to, the likes of Ultimate Edition and whatnot. But some players, very experienced. Darko, of course, former teammate to yourself, Alex. I'm sure you know exactly how he plays Gears of War, even on this game as well. And of course, Empathy as well as another player. He's been in and out of the competitive scene for quite a while, been in some very good teams, kind of like a player like Incisive, right? He's always been, looked at by the top players and seen as a good player, but only just in and out, as it were, into the top 4, top 5 teams. So he's got a lot to prove right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. He has got a lot to prove. As have the likes, Quinlan and Elusive as well. These are players we've not mentioned too much before, but they're both very strong players. They've got experience, not necessarily the LAN experience of eRa, but they have experience online. If they can hold it together, two fantastic players on this team. See them on screen right now.
Yeah, indeed. Bit of laughter as well. You can tell they were enjoying themselves, or are enjoying themselves rather. We're just getting this game started, I believe. We're going through picks and bans before we can get this going. Actually, there they are on screen right there. Of course, first map ban is reclaimed from Void. No surprises there, right? eRa, Eternity, some of the best shotguns in Europe. Crimsons and Marsh, they are very scary up top. So no surprise there. Ban on Harbor from eRa. Not too surprised, you know, just keep it to the basics. Lift is the pick, actually, from Void. You know, kind of an unorthodox pick. You know, it's not, you're kind of like Foundation reclaimed. See if they can actually perform against eRa on that one. Foundation pick from eRa. No surprises there, right? Just keep it basic. Should be a straight, simple initial victory, I think. Could be the game plan for eRa there on that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Foundation is probably the most played map in the pro circuit right now. It's a great map, and it's actually a map I think that will fall in Void's favour. I like the pick from eRa. You know, keep it to what you know, but it's also what Void know, right?
Yeah, it's true.
This is one of the maps they played the most. They're confident on it, and I think they'll give it a good shot on this map. Rotation heavy is what I'm thinking here, and it's going to all be about the shot calling, whether or not they can find those overextensions, keep themselves in the game, keep those points ticking up. We can see moving on from there, the second ban from Void Gaming is Forge Blitz, the newest map to the cycle.
Yep.
Replacing Dyna here in Season 2. Not to be sniffed at. I can understand why. The Void have not been a team for that long, so probably haven't had the chance to practice that map as much as the other maps. So second ban coming in from eRa is Dam. Again, I think it was just a choice of, you know, the last two maps there. You know, do we want Dam? Do we want Impact? And Dam's taken out. And of course, the last map, should it go to Game 3, will be Impact. Impact's a great map in its own right. I think it's quite a good map for a finale there. Whether or not we'll see it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right with your 2-0 prediction, but yeah, if we do get there, it's going to be Impact.
Yeah, for sure. I think you touched upon a great point there, actually, with Foundation. Void being a fairly new team, yeah, why not? That would be actually a nice little map to play. I say nice. It'll be a better map for Void to play, but, you know, eRa Eternity, they have also had a lot of practice on it. I think it will be initial heavy, rotation heavy, as you said as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of like thinking, you know, just one step ahead. If, you know, eRa get a nice little home hill setup on the second half, you know, the raw skill of eRa will be very difficult to get through, I think. But, you know, nonetheless, those are your maps: Lift, Foundation, Impact. The question is whether we'll actually get to Impact. I don't think we will. Are you going to agree with me there?
I am solidly on your side this time. As much as I like the guys on the Void Gaming team, I do think it's going to be a 2-0. Yeah. Not sure about Swift 2-0, but I think it'll be 2-0 nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, it's yet to be seen. We've got the game coming up shortly, so that's what we'll see then, I guess. We'll get into that when it comes around. One thing I just want to mention about the picks and bans there is that it's okay picking and banning these maps right now, but the map cycle is quite small anyway.
Yeah. So
it doesn't really matter too much what you're going to be banning against these top teams, because they've played enough now to know all of the games, all of the maps. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they'll be fine on whatever maps they end up playing this weekend.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Lift is an interesting map. It's, as I mentioned, it's fairly unorthodox of a pick. eRa, I actually we casted over them in the last 2K. They played against Fable in the semi-final, and they were doing really, really well. I think they lost by 2 rounds in the end to Fable. Lift was the last map. Reaction on that home street, he was against Phelpsy. Boy, oh boy, was he performing. And that's a question mark in itself, right? Reaction, how will he perform at this LAN? eRa, they played very well in Nottingham, but lots of questions around whether Reaction will perform really well. What will the emotions be like for this team? Because Ash grabbing a little bit of energy before he gets into the game. Of course, we're just going to maybe some little bit of tech issues here as the picks and bans are through. I'm sure we'll be getting going very, very soon. But yeah, lots of questions about eRa. I think this will be a nice little, you know, kickstart to the event, see how they're performing. Nice little warm-up for them against, admittedly, a very low-seeded team of Void Gaming. I think they're actually coming in at 15th seed, or no, 14th seed. And a fairly new team with that, veteran players nonetheless. I mean, we're not just yet on Lift through, but let's talk about round count, shall we? I think eRa should be able to take this 7-2. I'm going to go with 7-2. I think they'll drop 2 rounds in this map.
Yeah,
Match that.
I'm on board with that. The
Yeah.
7-2, it sounds reasonable. 2-3, I think some of the earlier rounds where the respawn is a lot slower, a lot faster. Sorry, will benefit Void a little bit more. But once the death timers start counting up, and you're out for like 16, 18 seconds, and you've got a little bit longer to get back to your home hill. I think that's when we're going to see eRa really kind of take flight and move on with this game. But yeah, if Void can get something rolling early, tilt the likes of eRa, then maybe we'll see something a bit further on, 7-5, 7-6. But yep, 7-2. I'm on board with that, Toby. I think that's quite a good prediction there. As you can see, both teams still on the screen here. eRa on the right-hand side, Void on the left-hand side. We are just waiting for the last player to jump in game, and then we'll be underway. Just quick run through the rosters again. We see Empathy, Darko, Quinlan, Elusive, and Merked over on Void Gaming. eRa Eternity, of course, is Ash, Incisive, the new pickup, Reaction, Crimsons, and Marsh. The team is relatively similar to the eRa team we saw up in Nottingham a few months ago. And I have to say, they were performing very well there. They did do well. They ended up second in a very, very late final on Monday morning. You could see both eRa and Epsilon at the time.
Darko just staring at the camera there. Love it.
Yeah, they were both flagging, but it was a very close game. Darko, what a man.
He knows where the camera is, safe to say.
I don't know
There
what he's
we are.
saying.
We don't have a microphone, unfortunately.
Thank God.
down the main
Unfortunately.
stage.
I'd say that's fortunately. We don't want to hear what he's saying right now. That's Raw as well there, poking his head in on the left-hand side of the screen.
Well, you can tell they're out for a good time, nonetheless. I think eRa, they're ready to go. Just waiting on a reaction now to get back and take his seat, and then we should be good to go.
Yeah, we're just seeing him join back into the lobby here. So all players are in and ready to go. Once the final players do sit back down from both teams, this game will be underway pretty shortly.
I think the thing to touch upon as well about this eRa squad, yes, they've had a lot of roster swaps, but I think with the raw skill, just pure raw skill, Reaction, Crimsons, Marsh, those three alone, they can really push a team forward in terms of the slaying department. Unsure as to how that will carry over against, as I mentioned, Supremacy and Fable, definitely the top two teams in Europe currently. But you kind of hope that they build a bit of chemistry, get a few matches done and dusted early on this event before they come up against them. And hopefully they'll be warmed up and ready to go. I can't wait to see how they perform. I think it's my primary team to watch out for this event, for sure, eRa. And got to stare at those cameras to see how that team cohesion is going, the chemistry out of game as they play.
Yeah, I think eRa definitely one of the favourites here. A team not in this game, but a team that I want to discuss just quickly while we're waiting. GA Esports. They're the Spanish roster. They are the Madrid champions, coming in from a LAN win. They've been around for a very long time. Totti and co. They're a well-formed roster. They play well. They play fast. They're aggressive. I think they're an underdog for this event.
Yeah?
We see them coming in. They're in a very low seed, but I don't think that reflects their actual talent in that
I have
roster.
to agree with that. Yeah. There's some players like Totti is one name that has been around the Gears community for so long. I mean, what is it? Back in Gears 2 myself, I played plenty of games against that individual. So to see him come back, come to LAN now with the team Cougars, Swift, NDZ, and Julian, players I've played against so many times over the years. For them to just be at LAN now, obviously coming off a nice LAN win, nice little introduction to LAN, perhaps you'd argue for that roster. Got some nice jerseys, great org back in them. Maybe a little bit of a dark horse to upset a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. They have got a good order back in them. Someone out there is definitely looking at these guys, looking at these boys and going, this is a team we want to back. This is a team that we feel is up there, is someone we can push to get to the majors as well. And I think, although they do have a very hard side of the bracket, looking at this bracket, I do think they've got a very good shot at this tournament. Their first matchup is Evo. Evo is a strong team, but they're not in the top four right now. And I think GA will end up matching against Fable pretty early on. I think that will be the game that we see. Is GA Esports the real deal? And,
I think so.
Are they here to perform? Are they here to to make their mark on a bigger stage?
Yep, that's a very tough game, of course. After that, Evo, GA, it's going to be playing Fable, in that round 2, either team. I think GA should take that game. I'm not too sure, but I think they should. And I think that will really, set the mark for how they'll perform in the rest of this tournament. You can see Jack Reaction's just taking his seat now. Both teams rather, getting ready to go. I think we went through predictions, didn't we? I think eRa will be taking this 2-0 map count-wise if you're just joining us. But lots of questions to ask and to answer.
Yeah, lots of questions. Lots of questions indeed. We do have all 10 players here ready to go. Just doing their final preparations before this first match on stream gets underway. Because we've already got matches going on elsewhere in the room. There's quite a lot of noise going on. Just having a look out over the floor. We've got a lot of people here this weekend. It's a fantastic turnout. Looking across the floor, every station is full. Every station has spectators. It's really good to see for European Gears of War.
Oh yeah,
definitely a great event so far. But there's a long time to go yet, Toby. Long time to go.
I think we should point that out actually once again. $20,000 prize pool, folks. In collaboration with Microsoft and the Coalition, EGL are putting on an amazing event, and it's only just started. You can tell this is going to be, one of the best European events we've ever had. It's of course Gears Pro Points on the line as well. Alex, this is a really important event. We've had a great turnout. Some fantastic teams, some of the best teams we've had in Europe. I think the whole of Gears 4, right? Yeah. And for a 4 regional EU-only event to really kickstart the pro circuit. Of course, four regionals going on this weekend. This is only one, the European one. So a great weekend for Gears Esports, a great weekend for Europe, and a very exciting time actually. Yeah,
definitely. As you said, there are 4 events going on this weekend for Gears of War. When has that ever happened before?
Just four.
Just straight up in one weekend. It's fantastic to see for the community, for the game. And I'm sure a lot of great teams will be at all these events. We're focusing on Europe, though.
Yeah,
we are focusing on Europe, and the game is about to go underway. We see the countdown coming in. The teams